October 17th, 2019, there was an object as big as a football field that a telescope in Hawaii, Pan-STARRS, discovered. That telescope in Hawaii was constructed as part of a mandate that the US Congress gave to NASA to find 90% of all the objects bigger than a football field near Earth, because they pose a risk to us. We know about the dinosaurs that were killed by an object as big as Manhattan Island. And so we are smarter than dinosaurs. We can use our telescopes and figure out if something is coming to hit us, perhaps deflect it. And so this telescope in Hawaii found a near-Earth object, but then the astronomers realized that it's actually moving too fast to be bound to the sun. And it was declared as an interstellar object, given the name ʻOumuamua, which means a scout in the Hawaiian language. For me, it was surprising because I tried to calculate a decade earlier. I wrote a paper, published a paper that forecasted that this telescope will not see any rock from other stars because there aren't enough based on what we know about the solar system. And the fact that they found it, to me, was exciting, because when you are wrong in a prediction, it's an opportunity to learn. It's actually a very positive event, because nature tells you you're missing something. It's not a blow to my ego to learn something new. On the contrary, I'm happy that. And so I was excited, and then I thought, okay, well, it's a big rock. But then as time went on, the data on it looked anomalous, because the object changed its brightness by a factor of 10 as it was tumbling every 8 hours. So the amount of sunlight reflected from it changed by a factor of 10. So that meant the surface area of the object projected on the sky was changing by a factor of 10 as it's tumbling. And you can think of a piece of paper tumbling in the wind, but it has to have a very extreme shape such that when you look at it not face on, you get much less light. And indeed, the most likely shape for ʻOumuamua, based on the reflection of sunlight, was a flat shape, a pancake-like, not a cigar shape the way that it was illustrated. And so the question is, well, we have never seen a rock in the solar system which is flat, and the amount of sunlight reflected from it changes by a factor of 10. That was unusual. But moreover, it was pushed away from the sun by some mysterious force, and there was no evaporation, no gas or dust surrounding it. So it couldn't be the rocket effect the way comets are propelled. Comets have this glow from the dust and gas around them, reflecting sunlight, but there wasn't any. And in fact, the Spitzer Space Telescope looked very deeply around the object, didn't find any traces of carbon-based molecules. So I said, well, maybe what's pushing it is the reflection of sunlight. And of course, I thought about it because of the Starshot project that we talked about. And for that purpose, this could be just a very thin membrane that was ripped off the surface of a bigger technological object, or maybe a broken piece of a bigger object. Not necessarily something that is designed to be propelled by reflecting sunlight. So I suggested, I said that nature doesn't make very thin objects like a sail, and so maybe it's technological in origin. And my paper got accepted for publication within 3 days. And the referee actually said, actually the data indicates that it most likely flat. So this is an interesting proposal, the referee said. And at first I got very positive responses from colleagues until the media went crazy, because a week later I had to go to Germany for the Falling Walls conference in Berlin. And as I was leaving my home, at the front door, there was a television crew with reporters. And I said, sorry, I have to go to the airport. They said, well, we just have one question. Are we alone? And so then my inbox was flooded with emails when I arrived at Germany. And there were so many reporters there that wanted to speak with me that they had to put them in one room. And when I entered the room, an Italian reporter from the back shouted, "Do you think you are Galileo?" And I said, No, I'm not thinking anything. I'm just talking about an object that appears weird. That's all. It's all about evidence, and people have these very strong opinions, and that's the problem that I face. And there is this pushback from scientists just because of the public's attention. And what I say to that is, it's actually a feature, not a bug, that the public cares about science. That Scorsese made an ad to do with aliens because the public cares about it. The US government, there are 3 reports from the Director of National Intelligence to the US Congress talking about unidentified anomalous phenomena over the past 3 years. There was a special organization called the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office that was established by Congress in the Pentagon to look into reports from military personnel, from the intelligence, about objects they don't understand. And I was at the Washington National Cathedral with the Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, and Jeff Bezos and Bill Nelson. And in the green room, I approached her, Avril, and I said, you delivered a report to Congress and you have a bachelor's degree in physics from the University of Chicago. What do you make of these objects? You're a physicist. And she said, I don't know. And I believe her. And so I think the government is not a scientific organization. There are 2 possibilities. One possibility is that the intelligence agencies are not doing their job. That's a serious matter. That the adversarial countries have technologies that we don't fully know about, and therefore there are objects spying on us in the sky. There was a balloon from China that was shut down. Maybe there are more. That's a serious matter because they're paid. That's their day job to find those objects. If it's not that, and by the way, it's remarkable that they admit that they don't understand some objects because it basically is they're admitting that they're not doing their job in some way. The second possibility is that it's from outside of this Earth. It's not, some of these objects. Now, this All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office looked at reports, hundreds of them, over the past year, and concluded that 97% of them can be figured out, but 3% not. Now, the government can focus on the 97% and be happy, but as a scientist, even, for me, even if 1 in a million is from outside of this Earth, that would be extremely exciting. Anything that comes from Russia or China is boring as far as I'm concerned. And so that's why the Galileo project that I'm leading established an observatory here at Harvard University, monitoring the sky 24/7. And we use infrared cameras, and we have data over the past few months that includes more than 100,000 objects in the sky. We are using machine learning software to figure out what they might be. So far, we see birds, airplanes, drones, satellites. We haven't seen something that looks truly anomalous. Maybe Boston is not an interesting location for that purpose. So we are building a copy of this observatory. We'll put it in Colorado, and we hope to build more. It all depends on funding. So that's the other branch of the Galileo project. In addition to looking after materials from interstellar meteors, we also look at the sky to see if there's anything out there. And that's the scientific approach. It's the approach also of FIFA, the soccer organization. There was the Women's World Cup in summer 2023. And when there was a dispute about whether there was a goal or not, the referees did not go to the players or to the audience to ask them what really happened. They used cameras and looked at the video. And that's the scientific approach. You can't rely on people giving you testimonies because people have illusions. They have ulterior motives. When there is a car accident, people involved give you very different reports. So the approach that scientists take is to use instruments. And that's what the Galileo project. So the Galileo project is the only systematic scientific study of the sky in this fashion. What the government talks about are reports that are anecdotal, that some military personnel happen to be at the right place at the right time. What we are trying to do is monitor the sky all the time. So that teaches us about the background objects that are often there. So we can calibrate. If something unusual happens, we can tell this is unusual at that level because we've monitored the sky for so long and only see that unusual object. And we can tell how unusual it is relative to what. So that is a systematic study of the sky, never done before along a long period of time. We already have several months of data. We'll build another observatory, and we will report if we see anything unusual.